Coming up from the Northeast Live studios in Guwahati, Point of View with Wasbir Hussain.
Hello and welcome to Point of View, the show that decodes the region and beyond. I am Wasbir Hussain. It is clear that Pakistan is taking its American dream rather seriously. The country's so-called Field Marshal Asim Munir, popularly known as the Jihadi General, has visited the United States twice in less than 2 months. That's fine. But what is not fine is Asim Munir, the Pakistani army chief, threatening a nuclear war against India and half of the world from American soil. Asim Munir appears to have gone overboard, excited that Washington has almost recognized him as the leader of Pakistan rather than its Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. America, of course, has a lot to answer, particularly about allowing a visiting foreign army general to threaten war against another country. We of course do understand that it is the Trump presidency right now in Washington. Asim Munir has been clearly carried away, and that is the reason he said Pakistan would start by targeting the east of India, where he said some of the most valuable Indian assets are deployed before venturing westward. Daydreaming are fine, but one would like to know whether Bangladesh under Muhammad Yunus has already agreed to overtly or covertly support Pakistan by opening its skies and land. A few questions arise. One of them is about China's possible role in the event of a Pak misadventure. But the biggest question is, can Pakistan match its bark with the bite? Joining me tonight to discuss these and more are 4 distinguished former Indian Army generals who have held a number of key positions in their illustrious career. I am joined on the show by Lieutenant General retired Arvinder Lamba, former Vice Chief of Army Staff; Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General Infantry; Lieutenant General P.C. Nair, former Director General Assam Rifles; and with me also is Lieutenant General Rana Pratap Kalita, former GOC in C of the Army's Eastern Command. Gentlemen, welcome to Point of View. Now the big question, General, let me first pose this question to General Kulkarni. General Kulkarni, I ended my introduction by asking the question whether Pakistan can match its bark with the bite.
Wasbir, thank you. Good evening to all my panelists, and more so to Lamba sir. Good evening to you. Wasbir, Pakistan cannot. That's rather fortunate for India, unfortunate for them. They cannot match bark and bite. Impossible. It's impossible for few reasons. I say so. Pakistan from the very start has always believed in Allah, Army, America. So we shouldn't get really perturbed, because right from 1947 onwards, the leaning has been there. The Britishers wanted to create Pakistan. The Britishers couldn't handle it well, so they've handed over the entire thing to carry on with it is America. America geostrategically needs Pakistan as much as UK wanted Pakistan at the time of 1947. So there is no denying the fact the role of Pakistan for the Western world, primarily, of course, China, second, Iran, third, Russia, fourth, Afghanistan, and all these talks of minerals, this and that is of course a byproduct of it, but they need someone that they can actually do. Pakistan is not a small country. It's a big country, huge population, have intelligent people, have the know-how, have the ability to absorb, and India being a democracy wouldn't allow any nonsense from anybody, because India has its own identity and it's impossible for anybody to dictate terms to India. India has its own policy, it has its own strategic autonomy, it has always believed in non-alignment, and now subsequently has total multi-lateral and multi-angular alignment. So in that context, Pakistan finds it extremely difficult how to cope up with India. Irrespective of whatever it is, it realizes, you saw from the very one statement of it, that India is mercenary. So what does that mean? They have acknowledged the fact that yes, India is a country which it cannot be matched by Pakistan.
Right.
It's got miles and miles ahead, and therefore it's at a disadvantage India. And how to make up for the disadvantage is what it is. And therefore all these saber rattling is nothing but to make up and wanting to tell India, the world, that well, we come. And America right now seems to allow that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get the opening remarks from all our esteemed panelists. First, let me go to General Arvinder Lamba. General Lamba, thank you once again for joining my show tonight. General Lamba, you see, our Indian Army Chief, General Dwivedi, in jest, he said a very interesting thing. We can listen to that actually. He said that, if after Operation Sindoor, General Asim Munir has got a promotion, he has been made a field marshal. That means India must have won the war. First of all, General, before you comment, let's listen in to what General Dwivedi, the Indian, our army chief, had said. Let's listen in very quickly to that soundbite.
Narrative management system. So narrative management system is something which we realize in a big way, because victory is in mind. It's always in mind. If you ask to a Pakistani whether you lost or won, you say, my chief has become field marshal, we must have won only, that's why he's become field marshal.
So very interesting, General Lamba.
What I'm saying,
we must have won the war, and that is the reason why Asim Munir has become field marshal.
Good evening, Wasbir, and good evening to all the elite panelists on this show today. I think you picked up the right moment. This is the chief's address recently at the IIT Madras, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And he had given the length and breadth of various dimensions of where we are today versus Pakistan in many ways. And this was the most catchy sentence that you picked up, where he said if he must have been promoted to a field marshal because they think they won the war. Strangely, and this is not strange for Pakistan, they win the wars in perspectives that they paint to their people. If you recall their first narrative that went up, that we've downed 5, 6, 7 Indian aircraft, we've hit all the cities of India, and we've caused huge embarrassment and destruction on the Indian soil. If this is what the general paints, in fact, there are clips that are available from various generals, including some of the DGMO level Air Force officers, who showed clips, articulated fake clips, to show where these aircraft were shot down, which the world picked up. Thanks to some newspapers, I don't want to name them, some press houses in the East, which are very well, evolved over time, but even they carried something in UK as well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But this made them feel that if the narrative across the world is actually talking about Pakistan downing aircraft, Indian aircraft, putting down a lot of destruction and on the Indian strategic assets, well, I think they really think they've done the war. And our chief was probably hoping that it's great if this is what you think, make him elevated to a field marshal. We wish you more of this, because there is enough in store. And this is just, I think he wanted to remind them, this is a cessation of hostilities. This isn't ceasefire, and the Operation Sindoor is still underway.
Absolutely.
I'll stop at that, then come back.
Absolutely, this is not the end of the war. Let me turn to General Kalita. General Kalita, just 3 months after a ceasefire with India, Pakistan's army chief is back to his hyperbolic rhetoric, threatening half the world, as he said, from American soil as a nuclear nation. Now, does it surprise you, a foreign army general visiting America, threatening India and almost half the world with a nuclear threat? This is something shocking, and this is something unprecedented. Your thoughts, General?
Good evening, Wasbir. Thank you for having me on the show. Firstly, it would have been shocking, to answer your question. It would have been shocking had this statement been made by some other general from some other state. But a Pakistani general making such statement is a normal thing, I think. That's how they have been behaving because right from independence, firstly, Pakistan Airways relevance comes from justifying their existential threat from India. So that's how the Pakistan Army gets its relevance. Right from independence, they have been doing that. 60, 65 war, 71 war, prior to that 48, during the partition when they came to occupy Jammu and Kashmir, they forcibly occupied half of it. Then thereafter Kargil war, all through they have been making such like statements. And firstly, that is one. And the second point is Pakistan as a nation has always tried to create a binary sort of relationship with India as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. They want to highlight to the international world that Jammu and Kashmir is a critical flashpoint between two nuclear nations, and they want to bring in mediation into any sort of possible conflict between two nuclear nations over Jammu and Kashmir. So that sort of symmetry they want to bring in as far as India and Pakistan are concerned. That is the second aspect. However, a field marshal or a general making such a statement on US soil, that is something which is we should take note of. What has US done after the statement has been made? A lot of people, in fact, one of the ex-Pentagon officer, Marco Rubin, had made a statement that he should have been put on a flight and moved out from United States of America after having made a statement of nuclear threat to the whole half of the world. That is what he had said. But in addition to that, one more additional point what is something new which has come up in this particular statement is inclusion of the eastern side. So that's a newfound confidence because of the improving relationship with Bangladesh, which has enabled the Field Marshal Munir to bring in eastern side of the vulnerability of India. Yeah, so that's something new which we have found as far as these statements are concerned.
Absolutely, General. We'll dwell more on that. I will come to General P.C. Nair, but before that, General Kalita, you have mentioned the Pentagon analyst Michael Rubin. Let's listen into what Michael Rubin had actually said. He's actually compared Asim Munir to Osama bin Laden in a suit. He compared Munir's rhetoric to statements previously made by ISIS and Osama bin Laden. Let's listen in before I come to General Nair.
Pakistan's threats on American soil are completely unacceptable. Pakistan is raising questions in many people's minds about whether it can fulfill the responsibilities of being a state or whether the time has come for it to end. In many ways, Pakistan's rhetoric, the field marshal's rhetoric, is reminiscent of what we've heard from the Islamic State and from Osama bin Laden. This should not stand. There is absolutely no reason anymore why the United States should consider Pakistan a major non-NATO ally.
Absolutely no clear terms. It's not said by an Indian or something. It is said by an American that Asim Munir is Osama bin Laden in a suit. He compared Munir's rhetoric to statements previously made by ISIS and global terrorist who was eliminated by the United States. That is Osama bin Laden. Let me come to you, General P.C. Nair. General Nair, this is something unprecedented that we are seeing as we have been discussing. The Pakistani general going to America and making these kind of comments. As General Kalita said, he should have been put on a flight back to Pakistan immediately after this statement, but nothing of that sort happened. Now, how do you look at it and his threat that you'd like to begin from the east where some of India's most valuable assets are positioned? That's what he said before venturing westward. Now, what gives Asim Munir the confidence, if I may use the word, to make these kind of statements? Whether it is his belief that America is going to back him, is his belief that Muhammad Yunus is going to open the skies and the land for his army or whatever to march in.
Good evening, Jain. Wasbir, firstly, my gratitude to you for having me over, and
pleasure.
Matter of great privilege for me to be among such elite seniors of mine. Well, coming to the questions that you asked, and let me begin with the context. Trump is certainly a factor, and what we must also realize is the same Trump in his first term said, Pakistan has been fleecing us, making fools out of us, shielding all the terrorists. We've spent over $30 billion in 15 years' time. And this is the same Trump now who kind of cozies up with the army chief. He happens to be the only army chief to have been invited over for a meal. Never happened before this. So Trump showed a factor, and Munir was taking advantage of the fact that Trump has been making statements which are not in the interest of India, particularly those related to trade and tariff, such like of which you are aware. But more importantly, the second part where you alluded to the point of the threat coming from the northeast, there are a few factors that he's trying to state here. It's not just Bangladesh. He's going a little beyond. Though while the word used is assets, I think it's a little more. It's got to do with the great focus that our country has been, focusing on at the our Northeast Act East policy, the huge developments that have taken in the Northeast, and alongside the trouble that's happening both in Bangladesh and Myanmar. That has to be taken into context. And of course, the hand that Pakistan and China have traditionally played in festering insurgency in the Northeast. So all these factors need to be connected. He feels that there is a need to stem our acting east, particularly our connectivity issues and etc., with not just Bangladesh and Myanmar, but beyond Southeast and the Far East. So there are numerous things that he's pointing at. But of course, there are great military assets also which we have. The improved tapping of hydro resources that we are doing, and how we are enabling Bangladesh and Myanmar, despite the disturbed situation, how we are reaching out to them is something which is not working well for him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me once
I
again.
didn't get that. Could you try again?
Okay, let me turn to General Kulkarni once again. India has, of course, come out very strongly against Asim Muni's statements at Tampa, Florida. Now, the question is, General Kulkarni, India has made it very clear that we are not going to give in to any nuclear blackmail anymore. We have had enough of that. Now we are not going to be bothered about Pakistan's nuclear blackmail. And India has said that Pakistan's nuclear command and control, they have expressed doubts about the integrity of Pakistan's nuclear command and control, especially given the military's close ties with terrorist groups. That is the Indian stand. Now my question to you, General Kulkarni, is where is Asim Munir? Do you think Asim Munir really believes that America is going to support it, going to come to its aid in the event of a military misadventure with India? Do you think he believes that?
Definitely. He wants that. He is looking at it. He wants to fire his gun on the American shoulder, and the Americans don't mind taking off the garden path. That's the first thing. Secondly, as I feel that everybody knows that Pakistan is using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. Now, he has also attempted to get the Majid Brigade as a foreign terrorist organization. So what does that mean? It means that Pakistan is also a victim of terrorism, and that it is a real problem that Pakistan is facing. So it is not just a terrorist state, but it requires help from all over, because Pakistan is a victim, which now the Americans are trying to sort of confirm it, that yes, Pakistan, the Balochistan Liberation Organization, the Balochistan Liberation Army, the Majid Brigade, and all of it is something which is troubling Pakistan, and therefore we need to help. Yet another thing is, Munir genuinely believes that the Indus Water Treaty is going to be a real problem area for Pakistan. Because not that Indians will be able to construct a dam in the next 10 years, but the fact is that the control of water and the irregular release of water is what is going to face a problem. Because in agriculture, which is the basic, the entire economy of Pakistan is agriculture based. In that context, it's only about a 15 days, 20 days gap, and that little window that they get for sowing or for being able to do. And you suddenly find that the time when you need water, the water is not being released.
Right.
And at the time when there is no requirement, you suddenly find the flooding of this area. So Pakistan is trying now to be able to convey to America, to India, that do not at any point of time trouble Pakistan, because Pakistan has suddenly become a darling of America.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't a darling, it was always a darling, but it has now become a more protective. A stooge of China, a darling of America. Pakistan seems to be enjoying a geostrategic advantage that yes, it can, and therefore with Iran, it's where the real requirement now of America is. America requires an interaction with Iran, and that is where Pakistan is going to play a huge role, because America doesn't want Iran to fall into the trap of China or Russia. In that context, whatever way and whatever, if it's giving them another $30 billion down the drain and to create terrorists and for pump them into India, America cares. So the deep state is interested in ensuring Iran remains with them for the kind of energy resources that they have. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Now, very, very well said, General Kulkarni. Pakistan is a stooge of China and a darling of America. We have to watch how China responds. We'll come into that, but let me ask this question to General Lamba. General Lamba, do you get a sense by almost recognizing Asim Munir as the actual leader of Pakistan, which of course we all know, recognizing him as the actual leader of Pakistan, do you think America is goading Asim Munir to go for for a military coup, so that dealings between America and Pakistan becomes all the more easier?
Wasbir, that seems to be quite obvious, that Americans would look at leaders that toe their line. And Munir has actually, I don't want to use the right word, but he has played up into the hands of Trump, and we know those squabbling statements that he has made, that he should be getting the Nobel Prize. And so he's played actually the proxy for United States, and all of this over a 3-day conflict with India. I think what he's trying to see, the Americans, Trump is not aware, but just like the Pentagon official mentioned, there is a huge embarrassment by giving this platform to Asim Munir. They have acknowledged, they have given him a platform and heard him on to say that the nuclear threat, they have said that terror, India, in fact, in the full statement released this evening, which somebody by the name of Manoj has picked up from what happened in his talk to the diaspora, he has said that the Indian intelligence agencies have actually picked up and caused a lot of trouble in South Asia and for Pakistan. So he's even said this, which means his mindset is elevating India to being the troubleshooter in this region. So the next point is, what he wishes to get out of them is his aim. But Trump himself would have to look and review whatever has been allowed to do. He'll find it very hard to withdraw. And for the 3 decades of international relations that have been built up to, from the kind of agreements we've come from, LEMOA, CISMOA, all the kind of logistic treatment agreements, we have reached a stage where we've hardly stabilized the relationship.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important for America to review this. So Asim Munir has made declarations, but I don't think the reciprocal response is there from America at large.
Right.
Yes, Trump is one entity.
Okay. But before going for a break, let me ask General Kalita. General Kalita, India of 2025 is certainly not the India of 1962. And India has always been preparing, the Indian military establishment has always been prepared for a possibility of a two-pronged war from Pakistan as well as from China. This is nothing secret. This is known to all, that we are preparing ourselves for a two-pronged war. Now, hypothetically, if Asim Munir were to engage in a misadventure which he is dreaming about, what could be the response of China? Okay, we know about China's relationship with the United States in view of the trade war and so on and so forth. And now of late we are seeing there is a thaw in relations between India and China. We are getting a sense as if Beijing is prepared to put the border issue on the back burner, put Galwan on the back burner for a while and move ahead.
You see, China, as far as India-China relationship is concerned, even after Galwan also, China had all along said that let border dispute be kept at a side. We should progress relationship on the other issues. That other relationships should not be hampered by the border disputes. That is what has been the Chinese stance. But what we saw in Op Sindoor, we cannot forget that. That cannot be negated. Operation Sindoor not only saw use of Chinese technology and the weapons and equipments by the Pakistanis. They were being provided real time. What we have heard about that kill chain which enabled probably targeting some of their attempt to target some of the Indian Air Force fighter planes. So that sort of technology is being provided, including visibility through satellite imagery and communication and targeting. And so that sort of support was being provided during Operation Sindoor. Though because of the tariffs which have been declared by Trump and Trump's efforts to sideline or to confront the BRICS, the efforts of BRICS towards de-dollarization and making an alternate to the dollar as far as trade is concerned. So these are the things which has to bring India, China and Russia towards some sort of a common platform. So that's why we probably are seeing what has been announced at the Prime Minister Modi's visit to Tianjin to attend the Shanghai Corporation Summit meeting towards the end of this month. So there is a thaw in relationship what you have made, but during the time of conflict, we cannot rely that Pakistan will not be helped by China. We need to be self-reliant, and we need to build up our capability. That is something has to be an ongoing process.
Absolutely,
we need to focus on the critical technology. And be self-reliant and be able to, cater for a two-front war as well in whatever manner it may manifest. It may not manifest everything in a kinetic domain. It may be a mix of kinetic and non-kinetic domain, because the future warfare, as we have seen, is in all these domains. It is a multi-domain operation. So we are not very sure, but we need to be prepared for both the fronts.
Absolutely, we cannot be complacent. There is no room for complacency. There may be a thaw in relations between India and China, but in the event of a conflict, can we trust China? That is the big question, and there is no reason to believe that China will not help Pakistan in the event of a real conflict. I'll go for a short break. I'm in conversation with 4 highly respected former Indian Army generals, and we're discussing Pakistan's saber rattling and its impact in the region. Don't go away. I'll be right back.
Accurate, credible,
Responsible. No sensationalism.
stories that matter.
Your station, your voice.
কেৱল কেমিকেলেৰে প্ৰস্তুত কৰা ডিছৱাছৰ প্ৰয়োগে কোটি কোটি মহিলাৰ হাতৰ অনিষ্ট কৰিছিল। সেয়েহে আমি প্ৰথমবাৰৰ বাবে ছাই, নিম আৰু নেমুৰে পতঞ্জলি ছুপাৰ ডিছৱাছ বাৰ তথা লিকুইড প্ৰস্তুত কৰিছো। তেল চিকটি হ'ব সম্পূৰ্ণ পৰিষ্কাৰ হাতৰ সুৰক্ষাৰ সৈতে।
This is my Northeast. Here, life is not that easy. That is why the people here don't give up so easily. And Star Cement was born in this very land. Star Cement, har ghar mein star.
নিম, হালধি, চন্দন, এলোভেৰা, মঞ্জিষ্ঠা, পাম তথা নাৰিকলৰ তেল আদিৰে প্ৰস্তুত কৰা পতঞ্জলি বাথ সোপ ব্যৱহাৰ কৰক। প্ৰাকৃতিক স্বচ্ছতা তথা সৌন্দৰ্য লাভ কৰক।
Let me go to General P.C. Nair. General Nair, we have been sitting pretty as far as Bangladesh is concerned for more than 20 years because there was a friendly government in the form of the Awami League led by Sheikh Hasina. But today the dynamics have changed. We have Muhammad Yunus as almost the caretaker head of Bangladesh now. The first thing he did after assuming power on the 8th of August, if I am not mistaken, last year, was to invite the Pakistani army to train the Bangladesh soldiers, number one. Number two, he goes to China and invites the Chinese to open shop on the border with the Northeast, saying that we are the guardians of the ocean. We all know about the rhetorics of Muhammad Yunus by now. Now, when Asim Munir goes to America and says that I'd like to begin from the east where India has positioned some of its most valuable assets and so on, is it just a rhetoric? Or do you think because the Pakistani generals have visited Bangladesh a couple of times in the last 1 year since Muhammad Yunus has taken over, do you think it is just a rhetoric, or do you think he must have got some kind of an assurance from Muhammad Yunus? And if that is so, do you think we need to be doubly serious, and we have to be doubly alert?
Yes, that's a very good question. You actually need to see that the equation is complete only if you put China also into the triangle.
Yes.
Bangladesh, Pakistan and China. So he's not hobnobbing only with Pakistan, but it's also China, and you very rightly brought out is that's very broad statement of the Northeast. Yes, there have been important visits by people from the ISI and other senior ranking officers who have visited Bangladesh. Similarly, there's been a Bangladeshi delegation officers also who've gone to Pakistan. They have tried to now formalize some defense exercises and training also. As it is, there were training that were happening in the past as well. But now the number of people going for cross-training to both each other's countries, they have increased vacancies. Similarly, there is a talk of sending a Pakistani troop component for training to Bangladesh. These are all new things that are happening. And of course, the noise that he made of Lal Munirhat airbase activation, such showing its proximity to the Siliguri corridor. So, in a way, it's rhetoric because it can't really happen. Bangladesh knows it for a fact. And as it is, this is not truly a legitimate government of Bangladesh. It's a ad hoc temporary government, has no legitimacy. So it cannot actually make any such, grandiose plans which are strategic in nature and which will affect the country. Because in their heart of hearts, Bangladesh knows very well it's the geography that will dictate their relationship with India. So to a great extent, I think it's rhetoric and playing to the gallery.
Okay, rhetoric and playing to the gallery, but at the same time, everyone will agree that we cannot afford to be complacent, as I just said. Let me turn to General Kulkarni. General Kulkarni, the Asim Munir's saber rattling, or for that matter, Pakistan's saber rattling comes at a time when Pakistan's strategic assets have not yet been reinstated after the devastation it faced at the hands of the Indian Air Force and the Indian military establishment. Now, that means, do you think Asim Munir has jumped a gun? Why is he talking about nuclear threats and so on and so forth? And India has very categorically said that we know how to defend our country, and don't don't try to blackmail us anymore with your nuclear threat.
Asim Munir is saber rattling primarily because America is allowing him to do. Otherwise, he would have been punished by now, or any sensible country would have sent him back from there to say that, look, don't make these kind of statements. So his statement has come with definitely kind of a control or, to allow him to say what he said. As regards the nuclear effects of Pakistan are concerned, the Americans are fully aware where they are. And it is that what has rattled them, because our inputs are that the Kinara Hill was the one that actually rattled it. It's nothing, it's not a big secret, that the Kinara Hills are the place where the nuclear assets of Pakistan are, because that's one place where they're deep down inside, under the overall protection of the Americans. So the Americans are fully aware of what it is, what the Pakistanis are. The Pakistanis are not absolutely independent, because the Americans also know, having seen where Osama was, that the nuclear assets can fall into a hand which they don't want them to. So it is so much better to keep them with you. It's always good to have a rope to be a monitor with them, so that they know exactly how to handle the rope. And that is Pakistan. In that context, Pakistan may have nuclear assets, but they cannot use them. The kind of satellites that we have, the kind of images you have, you can't move a vehicle from place A to place B without anybody getting to know what's happening. So if the Chinese are giving all input about India to Pakistan and we're able to do everything, and Americans would also be now doing the same to America, to Pakistan. So we know that as regards the nuclear assets are concerned, or the misuse of the nuclear assets are concerned, the other half that he hopes will survive, he's not going to be part of the other half, because he's going to be part of the half which will have totally demolished, gone and wiped out from the face of the earth. So he wouldn't want to do that. So that's all saber-rattling just to be able to tell India that, look, do not, see us as having a defeated power. We have not lost. We have sort of compromised or whatever it is,
right,
but we haven't lost, because that's where the feeling is obviously Asim Munir is feeling guilty that he has been promoted for a loss. He has not been promoted for a victory, and therefore he is trying to tell everybody that, well, he is not a loser. He has a lot yet to be able to create chaos in the world, if not in neighboring India. So that is where the whole thing is all about. Nothing very much. So we mustn't read too much into it, but yes, we cannot ignore it. We have to take it seriously, because we know that they're capable of doing anything stupid, because it's a rogue state. It has a nuisance value.
Absolutely, we cannot ignore it, but there is no need to read too much into it, but we cannot ignore it. That is the caution. Now let me go to once again to General Lamba. General Lamba, as General Kulkarni has said that Pakistan has nukes, but it may not be able to use it. But my question is, do you think we need to be worried because Pakistani military is in cahoots with the terrorists? So it is two sides of the coin. The Pakistani military, we have seen after Operation Sindoor, when some of their top terrorist leaders were killed in Indian strikes, the entire Pakistani military establishment, top generals and brigadiers and colonels with full uniform, were present in their janaza, in their funeral. So what more proof does the world need that the Pakistani military and the Pakistani terrorists are hand in glove? Now, in view of this, do you think we need to be rather more cautious, because if the nukes are at the control of a military establishment or the state authority or the state actors, it's fine. But Pakistan, who knows, some of the nukes could be even in the control of the non-state actors. Do you think that causes a greater worry for India?
I think it's well said. It's a very pertinent question. It has always been there in every conflict with Pakistan, because this is the first comeback you have, is that we are fighting this conflict on a nuclear overhang. General Kulkarni rightly said, they have the nuclear missiles, they have the numbers, and they are only increasing now, as we notice. But to use them, there are two causes of worry. One is, would they consciously do it? And second is, would the United States consciously allow that? His rant that if we have to strike and make a nuclear strike, we'll take half the world down. This is where the US, support to his statement makes it bizarre for the world. If he can say this in it reflects on America in the larger context, allowing him to get away with the statement where he's threatening half the world to take it down should there be a threat. Third point you made is, do we need to worry about it? Your points are valid, and I make based on what our experience of war games, even as recent as 3 years back was, we tried to provoke China and Pakistan to launch its nuclear missiles in every scenario. And in the 11 scenarios that were discussed in various forums, they were unable, our own people were unable to press the nuclear button. So I think the two simple ends of the nuclear doctrines are they can strike nuclear first, they can make the first strike. India says no first strike. But when we go whole hog, we'll go all out, and there may be, like somebody said earlier, nothing of Pakistan left.
Absolutely.
That's just clarity. Your fourth point is about the non-state actors.
Yeah.
Now, this has remained as long as the terrorists have reached that stage in Pakistan, particularly, where they are no longer, actually, Wasbir, it's time for us to know that if terror is state-sponsored today, then Pakistan is a terror state itself. So the problem today is the fine line between a terror-sponsor state and the terrorist has converged or minimized so much that you do not know who is safe, whether the nuclear weapons are safe with the state, or are they likely to be used by the non-terror, non-state the elements. And my last point is to think that a non-state terrorist will use it is also very difficult, because nuclear weapons aren't easy to take away, aren't easier to assemble, aren't easy to put across, except with a lot of convergence, because the aspects of separation of the system with the head and so on are all there. But yeah, nobody can say anything about Pakistan. We need to be worried about terrorists having this, and we need to work our policies to ensure our surveillance and our intelligence caters for this. To me,
Absolutely.
It's an equal worry for us and an equal worry for Pakistan, as also the US. If terrorists ever get a nuclear weapon, they do not know where it can be launched and to what target.
Yeah, I have some very interesting data. I'll come to you, General Kalita, but I have some very interesting data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. According to this institute, that is the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, Pakistan's nuclear warheads has surged in a very big way, and it has surged. From 48, it has reached 170 in 2024. So there is definitely the Pakistan has been increasing its nuclear arsenal in the last couple of years, and they have gone whole hog as far as building its nuclear weapons are concerned. But General Kalita, do you think now America thinks that they're a big brother in the world? They can preach peace, they can preach against nuclear disarmament to the whole world. But here, Pakistan's biggest ally today seems, United States acts as the big brother. United States preaches nuclear disarmament to everybody. Now, United States' biggest ally today is a terrorist state called Pakistan. So, now in view of this, do you think United States has any moral right left to preach nuclear disarmament and so on to the whole world?
You see, all countries follow their own national interest. So, if we look at how Pakistan has been used by United States, basically it has been used as a vessel state by US all through during the Afghan war. That was one of the main front-line state which the US had used, and thereafter at some point of time they almost discarded what Pakistan was doing. In fact, after the Afghan pullout, and when they realized that it's not they're not making any gains in that area, but then Pakistan's strategic location, facilitates its sort of gaining prominence or gaining importance as far as US is concerned. For anything to do with the Central Asian Republic or Iran and in Afghanistan, and for instigating any sort of things in the overall power play in South Asia, Pakistan is a key player. That's why US, I think, will continue to ride on Pakistan as long as it meets its national interest. So that's something which I think we are going to see. Of course, the present dispensation in United States, that's the Trump 2.0, we all know has been absolutely unpredictable and has not been following the general laws of diplomacy or ethics of diplomacy or international relationship, that is thrown out of the window by the present dispensationist in the United States, and the behavior has been absolutely unpredictable. So that's how you see. But traditionally, US has been using Pakistan to further its own interest. So that's how I look at as far as US and Pakistan is concerned. How long they will continue, that time will say. That only time will tell. While on this, I would also like to bring back one point, what you had discussed, and Jal Nair had commented about bringing in East in Asim Munir's statement, and whether it is a plain rhetoric or there is some substance to it. Though it may be construed as rhetoric as well, but there are certain factors which cannot be, overlooked because of TPS specific geography of Northeast. The Northeast has got some vulnerabilities. Firstly, its geography, the porous border, and the ethnic population living across the border, along the border. Then the demography of the along the border, and the insurgent groups which are present, which are traditionally been living in, having camps in Bangladesh as well. And of course, we all know the vulnerable Siliguri corridor. So for making anything in any big statement as far as East is concerned, there is no requirement of undertaking kinetic action by Pakistanis by using Bangladesh. It can be in form of hybrid, that low-cost option of proxy war, where the fertile ground is ready for Pakistan to get involved and initiate proxy war, utilizing the fundamental forces which are already existing in Bangladesh and which have got certain sleeper agents within our own country as well, in the Northeast as well as some parts of West Bengal. So that threat continues to haunt us. It's something which we cannot overlook.
Absolutely. I think that is a very interesting point. I'd like to request General Nair to elaborate on it, because you headed the Assam Rifles that is manned along the border with some of these our neighboring countries. Now the point is, General Nair, we have done a lot of peace accords with several of the northeastern insurgent groups, but still there are elements both in Myanmar as well as now with the change in regime in Bangladesh. I would presume that some of these insurgent groups will be proactive and active even in Bangladeshi territory. Now they must have come back to base. Now, as General Kalita is saying that it may not be a direct war, it could be a proxy war backed by the Pakistanis, or for that matter the Chinese as well. So how big a threat do you see the changing dynamics in in Bangladesh and the Pakistan's saber rattling or rhetoric or whatever you call it, but at least they have gone to, but what is a fact is that the Pakistani general has talked about the East, meaning that Pakistan may have set its eyes on the East.
Yes, in fact, I covered this in the first question that asked, and I was totally in agreement with what General Kalita said. I was not at all any point of time digressing from that. I made certain points with respect to the insurgency in the Northeast and the role that traditionally Chinese and Pakistanis have played, and there is every likelihood of them spiking that up again. Now, along with this, the context is also Myanmar, where we have a very disturbed situation just across in the Chin region, partly in the Sagaing region, and of course in the Rakhine state also. All of them in extremely disturbed state, which was never the case earlier. So, the influence that the Chinese have in Myanmar. So if you connect all of them together, the Pakistani increased interaction, the Chinese all-time presence, and the disturbed situation in both these countries, there is surely a cause for worry. My point of rhetoric was his just saying that it could well be Pakistan and Bangladesh together, and that's where I said it's Pakistan, Bangladesh, and China. So surely there is every likelihood of them funding or giving rise to insurgency once again. Though insurgency is now at an all-time low. If you see in the last 11, 12 years, it's an all-time low. Last 2 years, if you see the data of the Ministry of Home Affairs, there is a little spike, and that's because of the Manipur incident.
Absolutely.
If Manipur wasn't there, it would have totally gone down. So that point still remains. It's a point of concern. Yes.
Absolutely. Final comments from you, General Kulkarni, before I go to the other panelists on this program. General Kulkarni, as a soldier, your approach may be different from that of a diplomat, but my question to you is, how should India now deal with America? Have you applied your mind to that? How should India deal with America? Okay, we have condemned General Asim Munir's comments. We have said that this nuclear black man is not going to work anymore, and we have also said that we have questioned the integrity of Pakistan's nuclear command and control, especially because the military has close ties with the terrorist groups in Pakistan. That has been established beyond doubts. So there is no argument on that. Now my question to you is, how should India or how should New Delhi deal with the Americans?
See, there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies, there are permanent national interests. As much as we have, the Americans have their national interests also, number one. Number two, our strategic autonomy at no point of time must be compromised. The Americans are trying to bulldoze their way through, hearing that should India become like China, economically strong, militarily strong, technologically strong, their own place in the world gets affected. So America is concerned about that. America also knows the only way that India fears maybe China's rise. And if Americans can bulldoze their way through, maybe India might give in to America. Not working at all. Yet, at any point of time, the Americans do not want India, Russia, China, Iran to get onto one side and the Americans left on the other. Americans fully well know that they are no longer the number one in the world, and that is the fear that bothers them. Should the Asians and the other countries all close in, Americans would not stand a chance. It is in that context that we have to wait and watch, not get emotionally this thing as to why is Trump saying this, that's the way they behave, that's the way. Ultimately, it is a deep state which dictates. The American president can do what he wants to do, but the deep state knows. We know our relationship with America.
Yeah.
We have never ever trusted, trust but verify. That is with everyone, whether it is with China or whether it is with America.
General Lamba, as General Kulkarni said, our Raksha Mantri said almost the same thing. Our Raksha Mantri has said 2-3 days ago that when India is progressing, whenever India progresses, whenever the world sees some of the people, meaning he has not named America, that they cannot just stand it.
I think it's a very pertinent point, Wasbir. Our evolution, our rise as both an economic power and a military power, both, I think, is coming of time, and America can feel it. And it's not the first time that America has been rattled by us rising, and we have our own, and the bit of our strategic autonomy is most felt by America because of the traditional alignment with Russia. I think it's not a pricking point now. It's been a traditional difference over decades in our alignment, which they see as something which is anti-American, and that's not the case. The second is, the question you ask is very important. How should India then deal with it? And I think India need not slip away from the American relationship. We have a lot at stake. We built up decades of technology, armaments, and we got a very good channel that's set in. I suppose one should look at two things: Trump and the United States. And I think when we have speakers like Jeffrey Sachs and we have people like the Pentagon officials themselves, it gives us a method to say, do not look away from America.
Absolutely.
It's a flawed perception. It's a personal perspective that's been thrown up, and that would prove disastrous for Trump. And on the other hand, like somebody brought out, very cautious to slip into the other fold. We have to be completely cautious. With Galwan not yet settled, with everything not yet settled, the other side does not look to me any charming than where we are. The middle path, we have to be steadfast. Keep looking at American engagement that we have built. It will not go down as easy as Trump wants it, or Moody's tries to put it up. He's a small pawn of America. And I think the other side, I repeat this caution, be very careful before we slip anywhere closer to China.
I cannot agree with you more, General. My last word from you, General Kalita. Now, China. You have been the Eastern Army commander until recently. Now, the point is, how do you see the talk? Can we? Of course, you have already said that we cannot be complacent on how the Chinese behave in the event of a conflict. But what are your final thoughts about China, about the realignment? We have already discussed a lot about the United States. The final word, what are your thoughts on China in view of the recent developments?
Firstly, we need to find some issues of common interest which can further our national interest as far as China is concerned. So those sort of issues, once we identify whether it is a anti-tariff stance which has been commonly been taken by India, China, Russia and Brazil and South Africa, or the de-dollarization thing which is started by the BRICS, and look and search for an alternate currency for international trade. So this sort of areas of common interest where you can work together, and at the same time it has to be in furtherance of our own national interest. That's extremely important,
right?
As far as dealing with China is concerned. But at the same time, we need to grow our own capability, because there is no shortcut or there is no alternative to hard power. The international community will respect us if we possess hard power. And by hard power, I not only mean military power, it means military power, economic power, political as well as diplomatic, all four domains. So,
right.
and with against all countries in our own pursuance of our national interest, we must continue to grow and concentrate on structural reforms within internally, as far as so that we continue our growth story and develop leverages. Develop leverages while dealing with the other countries. That's extremely important.
Right, we have had this discussion on the eve of Independence Day, and the presence of esteemed panelists, all for your view tonight, has really added value to the program. I'm sure the viewers have, really benefited from your perspectives. Good night and goodbye, and of course, Jai Hind.
खबर वो जो आपको सही राह दिखाए, वो नहीं।